Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want better communication about sex?
Right.
It's something we all think about. And the cool thing is, all this research you gave me, FAQs, study guides, even instructions for better podcasting about sex.
Wow, that's pretty meta.
It is, right? It
Yeah.
shows us that people are really looking for ways to improve. And get this.
Okay.
One study found that even small changes in how we talk about sex can make a huge difference in our satisfaction. And relationship happiness, too. It's not just about the betterment, it's bigger than that.
It's true, and it's something the research really highlights, this connection between how we communicate about sex and how happy we are overall in our relationships. It's fascinating. It goes way beyond just the physical act, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
But, okay, if it's so important, why is talking about sex so hard?
Good question.
I'm seeing a lot of common threads in this research. Embarrassment, fear of being judged, even just not knowing the right words to use. Like, how do you even start that conversation?
You're right. Those are very real hurdles, and they come up again and again. You see, we all carry these sexual scripts, these learned beliefs and behaviors from our upbringing, our culture, past experiences. And those scripts can make it really tough to be open and honest.
It's like, if you grew up thinking sex was taboo,
Yeah.
that script's going to make it hard to talk freely with your partner now.
Exactly. It can really hold you back. And that's where I think a multifaceted approach becomes so important.
Multifaceted, I like it.
It's about looking at this from all angles, the psychological impact, the emotional side of things, practical communication skills, and even medical knowledge. We need to bring all of these pieces together.
That's what I love about these deep dives, getting that 360-degree view.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. How do these past experiences actually mess with our communication?
Well, think about it. If you've had negative experiences in the past, if you've been judged or shamed,
Right.
you're naturally going to hesitate to be vulnerable again, right? It's like that saying, once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah, it makes sense. But how do we get past that? How do we start to feel safe enough to open up?
I think one of the most powerful tools is consciously building intimacy.
Okay.
Intimacy, creating that safe space where you and your partner feel comfortable expressing yourselves without fear of judgment.
That sounds great in theory, but
It's tough.
how do you actually make that happen?
It takes time. It takes effort from both sides. It's about actively listening, validating each other's feelings, responding with empathy.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it
Yes, absolutely.
and how you react to what your partner's saying.
Right. It's
Yeah.
about sending that message that you're truly present in the conversation.
Yeah.
That your partner's feelings matter to you, that what they have to say is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're building intimacy. We're
Yeah.
facing those psychological ghosts.
Yeah.
But what about the actual mechanics of communication? Are there specific techniques we can use to get better at these conversations?
Oh, definitely. One of the simplest but most effective strategies is just learning to articulate your desires and boundaries clearly.
Ooh, that's where I struggle. Sometimes I don't even know what I want, let alone how to express it.
That's completely normal. It's a process, right? It's a journey of self-discovery. And the research talks a lot about taking time for self-reflection, exploring your fantasies, even trying new things to see what resonates with you.
Ooh, like giving yourself permission to experiment a little.
Exactly. It's about getting to know yourself better. And once you have a better understanding of what you desire,
Right.
you can start communicating those desires to your partner clearly and assertively.
Okay, so self-awareness is key.
Yes.
But what about understanding what my partner wants? I feel like I'm good at expressing my needs, but sometimes I miss the cues from my partner.
Yeah, and that's where active listening comes in.
Active listening.
It's not just about hearing the words, it's about truly understanding your partner's perspective, their emotions, even the things that might be left unsaid.
So it's like
Listening on a deeper level.
less talking, more listening.
Yeah.
Got it. But how can I be sure I'm really getting what they're trying to tell me?
Think of it this way. You're trying to understand the music behind the notes.
The music behind the notes.
Yes, and that involves asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you've heard, validating their feelings, even if you don't agree. All of that is part of active listening.
So active listening is like a superpower for any relationship.
For sure.
Not just in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay. But finding the time and energy for these deep conversations.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's tough. What about when life gets in the way?
Well, that's why some experts recommend scheduling regular check-in conversations about your sex life.
Wait, scheduled sex talks.
I know it sounds a
Like,
little...
unspontaneous.
I know, it might sound a little odd at first.
Yeah.
But the idea is by setting aside dedicated time, you're creating this safe, structured space for open dialogue. It takes the pressure off of having to bring things up spontaneously in the heat of the moment.
It makes sense when you put it that way. It's like
having a dedicated worry-free zone to talk about anything that's on your mind.
okay, I like it. So we're talking, we're listening, we're scheduling time for intimacy. What else is in this multifaceted toolkit?
Well, don't underestimate the power of nonverbal communication. Touch, body language, eye contact, even playful exploration. These can all speak volumes.
Things are getting steamy.
It's not just about the words, right? It's about those unspoken cues and responses. It's about being present in your body, paying attention to your partner's subtle signals, and responding in a way that feels good for both of you.
It's amazing how much we communicate without even realizing it. It's like this whole secret language of intimacy.
Exactly. And the more you tune into that language, the deeper your connection can become. But of course, even with all these tools, we can hit snags.
Oh, for sure.
There are times when those deeper issues, past trauma, unresolved conflicts, those can really throw a wrench in the works.
Yeah, these conversations can get complicated. Sometimes you just don't even know where to begin.
Right. And in those cases, it might be helpful to consider bringing in a professional.
You mean like a therapist?
Exactly. A therapist who specializes in sexual health and relationships. They can be an invaluable resource. They can provide that safe, neutral space to explore those deeper issues. They can help you develop healthier communication patterns.
It's like having a relationship coach. Someone to guide you through those trickier terrains and equip you with the tools to thrive. There's a whole world of support out there, but I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed. Where do we even begin?
Well, that's where we move into the fascinating world of resources. There are so many books, podcasts, even apps designed to help us navigate these waters.
Okay, but with so many options.
Right. It can be overwhelming.
How do we find the ones that are actually helpful, relevant to our needs?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to be exploring in part 2. We'll dive into some of the most insightful resources out there and give you a roadmap for continuing this journey of better communication about sex. Stay tuned.
All right, I'm ready for these resources. Where do we even begin?
Well, you've given me a fantastic mix of materials here.
Yeah.
So we have something for everyone. Like if you're into the science behind desire, how our bodies and brains work together.
Right.
Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's a must-read.
Does it get into the nitty-gritty of female sexuality?
It does. It does. It's packed with, like, those aha moments, debunking those myths.
Yeah.
And helping you understand the complexities of arousal and pleasure.
I love it. What about couples that are looking for something more practical, tools they can use right away?
Have you heard of The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman?
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's not strictly about sex,
Right.
but it is brilliant for understanding how you and your partner give and receive love, which is, let's face it,
Huge.
a huge part of the equation.
Because even if you're communicating clearly, if you're speaking different love languages,
Yeah.
the message might not get through.
Exactly. Exactly. It helps you, like, decode those unspoken needs and desires. Right.
And for those who love a more interactive approach, there's an app called Paired,
Paired.
which gives you, like, daily questions and exercises
Oh, cool.
to strengthen your connection,
Yeah.
including in the bedroom.
Ooh. Gamifying intimacy.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. But what about those times when communication gets really tough?
Yeah.
Like when past trauma's involved, the sources
Yeah.
mention that, and it can be a major roadblock.
Absolutely. In those cases, seeking professional guidance is, I think, essential.
Right.
But there's a book, The Body Keeps the Score, by Bessel Kolk, which is really powerful. It explores how trauma impacts our bodies and minds.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's acknowledging that sometimes
Yeah.
we need more than communication skills. We need deeper healing.
Right, right.
What about the medical side of things? I know you mentioned that earlier,
Yeah.
like how important that knowledge is.
Oh, it's crucial.
Yeah.
And there are great websites out there like Scarleteen
Okay.
and Planned Parenthood.
Which are fantastic for, like, evidence-based information on everything from contraception and STIs to anatomy and pleasure.
Yeah.
Really great for dispelling those myths and making sure you have accurate information.
That's so important, especially with so much misinformation out there these days.
Oh, totally.
Okay, so we've got books, apps, websites, even therapy.
Oh, it's a lot.
It's amazing how many resources are out there.
It is. It really is. And remember, this is just a starting point. It's about finding what works for you and your partner,
Right.
What resonates with you.
Yeah.
Explore, experiment.
Customize.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. See what works for your unique needs.
I think it's easy to get caught up in all this information and forget that communication itself is a process.
It's a journey, not a destination. It's about engaging in this continuous dance of discovery with your partner.
Oh, a dance of discovery.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
I like that. It highlights how dynamic,
How
how ever-evolving
the whole process can be. It is. And like any good dance, it requires both partners to be active participants.
Mm-hmm.
Listening attentively, expressing themselves authentically, and responding with sensitivity and care.
It's not just about having that one big talk
Right.
and checking it off the list.
No.
It's about weaving these open and honest conversations into the fabric of your relationship.
Yes, it's ongoing, creating that culture of communication where you both feel safe and empowered to share your desires, your needs, your concerns, knowing that you'll be met with understanding and respect.
I love that. Okay, we've got the tools, we've got the resources, we're ready to dance.
Right.
But what about those moments when things get messy?
Oh, yeah.
Like disagreements, those mismatched desires that inevitably pop up.
They do. They do. Those moments are bound to happen. I mean, no matter how skilled we become at communication, there will be times when we just don't see eye to eye, and that's okay.
Okay. But how do we handle those moments without it turning into a fight? Because I know avoiding those conversations
It's not the answer.
is not the answer.
You're right. Avoiding those difficult conversations only leads to resentment and distance. And that's exactly what we'll be diving into in part 3.
Okay.
We'll explore how to navigate those tough conversations and turn potential conflicts into opportunities for growth and deeper connection. Stay tuned.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle the final part of our deep dive into better communication about sex.
I'm excited for this.
We've covered the why, the how.
Right.
But now, let's get real. What about when those conversations get tough? Disagreements, mismatched desires, those times when, you just don't see eye to eye.
Those moments are going to happen. I mean, they're inevitable in any relationship, especially when we're talking about something as personal and complex as sex, right?
Right.
But here's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Challenging conversations, they can actually be opportunities for growth, for deeper connection.
Okay, so how do we turn those potential arguments into something positive?
I get it.
Is to avoid conflict.
It's a common one.
Yeah, like altogether.
I understand that. But think of it this way. Those disagreements, they're like little cracks in the surface, showing you where the foundation needs a little extra support.
Okay.
And if we ignore them, they just keep getting wider,
So we need to, address those cracks head on.
We do.
But how do we do that without it blowing up in our faces?
Well, I think it starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing these conversations as battles to be won or lost, we approach them with empathy, with understanding, remembering that you and your partner, you're on the same team, even when your desires or perspectives are different.
That's a good reminder. It's so easy to get caught up in being right.
Oh, yeah.
And forget that we're both striving for the same goal.
Exactly. And that shared goal, a happy, fulfilling connection, that's the foundation for productive communication. So instead of getting defensive, instead of trying to prove your point, we focus on really understanding our partner's perspective.
Okay, so we're shifting our mindset, approaching it as a team. But what are some practical tips for actually navigating those conversations?
Well, one of the most effective techniques is using I statements.
I statements.
Instead of blaming or accusing your partner, you focus on expressing your own feelings and needs.
So, instead of saying, you never initiate sex,
Right.
I could say, I feel a little neglected, and I'd love it if you initiated sometimes.
Perfect. You see, it keeps the focus on your experience without making your partner feel attacked.
Right.
And that opens the door for a more constructive dialogue.
It's such a subtle but powerful shift.
Yeah.
Are there other communication tools that we can use, in those tricky moments?
Well, another helpful tip is to focus on specific behaviors rather than making these sweeping generalizations.
So instead of saying, you're always too tired,
Right.
it'd be more like, I've noticed you've been falling asleep early lately, and I miss our intimate time together.
Exactly. You're addressing the specific issue without making your partner feel, labeled or judged.
Right. Okay, so we're being specific. We're using those I statements.
Yeah.
And Oh, timing.
Timing's everything.
It's huge. This is definitely not a conversation to have when you're both stressed and exhausted.
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Choose a time when you're both relaxed,
Right.
you're receptive, you have the time and space to really engage in the conversation. And, sometimes even with all these tools,
Yeah.
we might find ourselves hitting a wall.
And that's when bringing in a professional
Can be so helpful.
could be helpful, right?
Exactly. A therapist can act as that guide, helping you both communicate more effectively, work through those underlying issues that might be fueling the conflict.
Like having a relationship coach in your corner, supporting you through those trickier terrains. I think the biggest takeaway for me
Yeah.
is that communication, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
That's beautifully put. It really is this ongoing process of learning, growing,
Yeah.
adapting to each other's, evolving needs and desires. And that journey, as challenging as it can be at times,
Oh, right.
is ultimately what deepens your connection and leads to a more fulfilling relationship.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's my final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Imagine if the most exciting part of your sexual journey wasn't the destination, but the exploration itself. Those ongoing conversations, the discoveries you make about yourselves and each other,
It's a good point.
the joy of connecting on a deeper level. That's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely. And remember, communication is the key that unlocks all of that. Keep talking, keep exploring, and enjoy the journey.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into better communication about sex. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel empowered to take those conversations to the next level. Remember, it's a journey worth taking, and the rewards, immeasurable. And don't forget to check out those amazing resources we discussed. We'll have links to everything in the show notes. Until next time, keep diving deep.